4 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. Let's all stand, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll establish a quorum. Kathy will not be here. She's unable to be here today. So we do have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approve the minutes for August 16th regular meeting, August 16th executive session. Do we have any additions or changes to the minutes? Nothing? Okay. I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes as written. Corky, second. John, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, financial update. August financials, Jim Fox.
All right, Scott's all over tonight. All right, here's your treasurer's report for the month of August, and we're really looking pretty good now. Let me start off by saying that Crystal now has in the budget the surplus funds that we approved. So you're actually looking at a current budget. So that really changes the complexion of a lot of these numbers on that. So on the expense side of things, I'm going to jump right over there. There's $301,140 showing year to date. That still includes the property purchase. So that will be adjusted in the next month. Crystal and I were talking about that. That will be transferred over to the carved expense. So if you take that expense out, you wind up with actually a positive number in the net revenue and loss. So that current budget will show a lot better when we take that expense out. So good luck in September. Next slide, please. There really aren't a whole lot of surprises in anything here. It's kind of tracking pretty close. Major revenue contributors, the building permits are up a little bit. Late fees, we do have there are some late fees being charged right now, which is bringing this up a little bit. Some of that has to do with the way the system is working right now, and encourage members to make certain that they take a look at the website and know that they're having to pay a couple of different ways there. Toll tags, citations, they're up a little bit. Newsletter continues to be strong, and we do have a decrease, no surprise there, in the lodge operations with short staffing and being able to serve. So, next slide. Major expense contributors. So we're a little over budget on expenses there. Salaries and benefits are actually to the better in security and public works, although that's not good for getting things done, right? So, and also in parks and lake there. The sanitation recycle, not certain if we are actually doing a fall cleanup, but we will be doing the fall cleanup. So these disposal of garbage containers or roll-off dumpsters that would be included actually in this month will will be charged when we do that. So that's why it's showing over a little bit right now. Changes in inventory, credit card processing fees, that type of thing. Lodge management's a little bit over there. Golf professional, the marshal salaries, again, we will have to deal with that. So that's what's generally driving that to be in the red. Administration also, some salary benefits and some website account costs there. And on golf maintenance, we're over a little bit there, even though that the surplus funds have been included in that budget now. So we'll just have to watch spending a little in golf maintenance. And finally, the reserve funds continue to accrue money. We have not spent as much, I don't think, as we've anticipated in RFCAR for the Lake Management Reserve Funds, so they continue to increase their delinquent accounts. I want to say it's a little bit higher than normal, but it's kind of been tracking this way for a little while now. And Indian Creek, we're at 195 total members opted in for the POA to collect that money. So finally, looking at our cash balances, if you recall, the checking balance was way up here a while back. So Crystal's kind of got that back to where we've normally had it. But again, this is part of what the investment committee is looking at, is how we can kind of maximize some of those funds as opposed to having that kind of money in those areas. The reserve funds are strong. So. Any questions on the financial review? Courtney?
On the delinquent accounts, those are the highest that I've seen them in ever. Crystal, do you think that has anything to do with North Star?
Some of it does. I would say that yes, some of it does, because as Jim spoke to, whenever people are going online and looking at their account balances, they need to realize that with North Star, it breaks their account into membership and property. And I don't know that the membership has fully realized that whenever you go out there and look, you have membership, and that would be your pro shop and your lodge charges. But then there's also a tab just right next to it that has your property address on it, and you will need to click on it, and that will show your dues and assessments. And I feel like some of the membership is paying one, whether it be the property or the membership, and not paying the other. So if you're not paying your account in full, it's going to be in delinquent status.
And have we resumed charging the $50 late fee?
Yes, we started it back this month. I gave them a reprieve whenever in July, whenever we were not able to print the statements until basically the third week in July. So on that statement, it stated that due to the implementation, not being able to print statements until late in the month, we would not charge late fees. That resumed at the end of August.
I might recommend that. I don't know how much I pay until it enters my checking account book. So it might behoove us to send out some kind of a constant contact saying that you're now going to get 2 bills or 3 bills.
Okay, absolutely, I can do that.
Thank you.
And to add to that, on the board packet in the future, we will resume the aging of accounts receivable, or accounts receivable for that, because you used to get that in the board package. All of them are there. Okay. And then if there's more detail needed for any board member, we can get you more detail if there's greater concern.
Jim, Crystal, you said you felt like that they're paying one bill, not the other of the split. Could we get some statistics on that? And then maybe we need to follow up directly with those people that are paying partially and let them better understand, because those are the ones that are not understanding.
Yes. I absolutely can. We can actually run a PO aging report, property aging report, and it will show which account, whether it be the membership or the lot account that's past due.
And then I have one question. What is changes in inventory for lodge management?
That would be either changes in your food inventory or your changes in your liquor inventory.
And
So
what-
it-
yeah.
So-
So constantly it's going up or down. So what's different? Why we report that now?
We've
I
always
understand.
reported it, but the way we do not budget for changes in inventory, we only budget for purchases. So whenever you look at your income statement, go down to the lodge food and beverage, and you can look and see how much we purchased for the month, and then take what we have written off or written up to get your true food or liquor inventory costs.
I'll look at that. If I
Okay.
don't understand, I'll get back with you.
All right, no problem.
Just to kind of follow up on Corky's question there. I noticed that last month, total delinquent was 106,932. Is that an actual number?
Yes, I ran the PO aging report last month whenever I was working on the July statement. And even though we didn't charge late fees, I still captured that information just to see how many accounts were 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days.
I agree with Corky. It's something we need to keep track of and kind of find out what's happening with the real high delinquent accounts. Okay, let's see. Next thing is low water number 3. Crystal, are you going to discuss that?
During the month of June, at the end of June, first part of July, we've been using an Excel spreadsheet to calculate when to stop collecting the dues for the assessment for the low water crossing. Based on that calculation from that worksheet that was developed whenever the loan was taken out in February of 2017, it showed that at the end of June 30th, with July 1 dues, everybody was paid. However, upon further digging into this Excel spreadsheet, the calculation was incorrect. We should have continued collecting that $3.92 until February of 2022. Because the way it was calculated was, and my understanding is that whenever they took the loan out, people that wanted to pay upfront in full would pay $211 and change. They weren't paying the interest on the loan. The people that elected to pay it out with their monthly dues, they would pay $3.92 for 60 months. Whenever the spreadsheet was created, that $2.11 was put in the cell to be divided by 60 months. Whenever it should have been $235 or $36 and change. So it was an error in calculation and the spreadsheet. And we didn't realize it until I went and moved money out of the account to cover the loan payment, that I only have $2,000, give or take, left in that account. And we still have until February 2022 to pay that loan off.
So what will be done to correct the situation?
We need a little more time with council, with Jim Fox and myself and Crystal. There's a couple other options that we can consider doing it. At this time, I'm not prepared to make a recommendation to the board. We will have another month. I'd like to get it corrected at that time. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any questions concerning this? Okay, Brian, next up, contractor toll take collection.
Okay, this is another matter of administrative clarity. A little over a year ago, the board initiated a change in the fee for the contractors in our community to have a test run for 3 months of increase from $15 to $30. Well, the test run started and it never stopped. So it's $30 and has been, and that's what in actuality has occurred. There was never a pause or put the brakes or a report saying this is the impact or an analysis and what have you. So it's continued through. And I just need to have that clarified for the board. So one, we can continue doing it. And then there's a second part of it that's a little down in the weeds, but it's there. We have the authority through policies and guidelines to do these things up to 6 months. And it's my recommendation as current practice that it should be, the tag should be good for 1 year. So there's 2 points to this. One, that it's an ongoing policy, it's posted, it's on the website, etc., all the way through. And it's my recommendation that the tags be good for 1 year, not 6 months. Corky, do you have some comments?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did find it in the rules, it's on page 8, it says the expiration date for the gate passes for contractors would be 6 months or less from issue, which means that we could change the rule because we're reviewing the rules and change that to 1 year, or we could change the practice of charging $30 for 6 months. Either way is fine with me, but we're just out of sync.
Correct.
Now, this is actually the toll tag, which allows them to come in as a resident without having to go by the guard shack, right? So a toll tag for 6 months or a toll tag for a year at $30.
But it requires kind of 2 things. One, approval, but for changing the rule, as Corky indicated. So it's, as I said, it's down here in the weeds with it. It's not, global impact for the community, but it's what the rules are set up to do. Previous board had approved it, put a limit on, we'll test run this for whatever reason they chose to do that. And that's clearly in the meeting minutes on a go forward basis. Now, is it the reason it didn't get, stopped after 3 months? Was it because there was no analysis or no impact? It's hard to say because the constituents that it's impacting don't come to these meetings and don't get the meeting minutes for it. So it's the vendors.
Yeah, the minutes, go ahead, Jim. Yeah,
So it's 6 months or $30, either one or a year. How is that different than members' toll tax?
$15, and there isn't a time limit.
if you're looking at the minutes, which I found the minutes of the meeting, I was the chair of the safety and security that Charlie came to propose this when it was done back in June of 2020. And that being the case, I may ask John with the safety and security committee, could you get together and actually come up with something that could be brought to the board as far as which way we should go on the cost and the length of time? And maybe the committee could come up and we can find out exactly. Now, the reason we did it at the time for 3 months, this was at Charlie's recommendation, was again, it was a trial period and it never was actually, did it come back before the board to change it or to do away with it or whatever. This would be one way we could get it completely finished out. If that's all right with you, can you do that? Okay. Randy?
Randy Howlott, 1014. Can I just make one comment towards this? Recently, I experienced the need to facilitate some of my people who work for me with those items, and what was conveyed to me from staff was the tow tag was $30, and it was good and definite for that particular vehicle. A pass as being a plastic card like we have with their name on it was at no charge and was good for only 6 months. So one was at no cost to the contractor or the workers, valid for 6 months. The other one was a $30 fee for the tow tag, good for that one vehicle only, but and good indefinitely until canceled by whoever he works for.
Yeah, I think that it has not, it wasn't completely worked out. And I think it would be good to have the Safety and Security Committee work on this. And Randy, if you would, they could probably invite you to give your comments to them, and we can see where we go with it.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on? Scott?
So just to clarify, so Randy is correct. The gate passes or contractor cards that we print out at the POA office, those were good for 6 months. That includes all types of contractors, hospice, caregivers, whatever. The toll tax, now we've been trialing that, like I said, for some time now, and it's not stopped. But we've been putting those toll tax active for these contractors and charging $30 for 1 year. So after the year that they have submitted their application and we process it, we give them an account and we bill them for the $30, it's good for 1 year. So if they want to renew it, then it's a renewal of $30 fee, that keeps working for that additional year.
Okay. Again, though, we'll go back and let the committee work on this and come up with something to recommend to the board. All right. Item number 6, COVID-19 update. Kathy's unable to be with us here, so we will not get a COVID update. Next item, number 7, Indian Creek Volunteer Fire Department update. Denny Ingalls asked to speak to the board.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to give you an update on the proposed Emergency Services District Number 1 and the coming election. It's a privilege to be here on behalf of your Indian Creek Volunteer Fire Department's dedicated volunteer firefighters. You can't overstate the value they add to this community and to this entire 60 square mile fire district, and on behalf of our board. As many residents of the proposed ESD1 now realize, due to personnel fatigue and shortages, as well as irregular and insufficient donations, ICVFD cannot sustain its outstanding fire and rescue emergency services. Recent donation rates over the last several years have ranged from 13% to 25% of residents and those who have property in the district. While emergency and fire and rescue calls continue increasing annually, 502 calls in 2020. So while revenue is all over the place, but not very great, and pending for descending, the calls are increasing. Without predictable funding, as you know, there is no valid way to budget for or fund major equipment, property, and facility expenses. The proven solution of maintaining and improving our level of emergency fire and rescue services is an emergency services district, as documented in some 337 of those ESDs in 97 Texas counties and countless other ESDs throughout the United States. It has taken 4 years of concerted effort and many, many meetings and formal public hearings to get to this point of holding an election for this ESD. The election date is November 2nd, Tuesday, November 2nd. To explain why we're holding 3 town hall meetings, one of which was held recently, September 11th, and we're going to hold 2 more to explain why ICVFD cannot sustain its current level of service and how an ESD provides a proven means of sustaining Texas volunteer fire and rescue departments. These meetings are being held by our Emergency Services District Committee. These town hall meetings, we're holding 3 of them. The first one was here in the lodge. Pretty good attendance, 46 people, and good questions. And we try to do everything we can to answer everyone's questions. The next one will be at 6 p.m. Friday, October 1st at the Callisburg Elementary School cafeteria, 648 Farm to Market Road, 3164. And the third will be at 6 p.m. Saturday, October 16th at the Weavers Bel Air Farm, 8213 Farm to Market Road, 902. We hope all residents will make it to one of these meetings. Again, your ESD election is Tuesday, November 2nd, with early votings at the County Annex Building, 112 South Dixon Street, right across from the courthouse, between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., October 18 through 29. Ultimately, this election gives each of us the opportunity to decide the level of value we place on our lives, health, and property. We hope all residents will support this vital volunteer service by voting for ESD 1 on November 2nd or in the early voting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. I'll give a little testimonial here, not to go into a lot of detail. My daughter was visiting us, she and her husband, my grandson, his wife, and my granddaughter. They came out on a Tuesday, had dinner with us. Next thing you know, when they got ready to leave, they left and heading back to Denton. I get a call from my grandson, we had an accident. And it was right in front of the corner store. And of course, accident, I said, you're kidding. So we drive up there, and the reason I'm telling this story is the fact that as we're getting there, it hadn't happened probably more than 15 or 20 minutes before that. Here's all the EMTs, had my daughter out, taking care of her, the fire truck. To me, it looked really good seeing that we had the support from the EMTs that were out there helping us. So anyway, I'm not pushing this. I'm just letting you know the EMTs that we have in the fire department really does a good job out here. So anyway. Next, number 8, committee updates. Discuss and take possible action on committee member changes. Do we have any committee member changes? Good, because last time I forgot to write down the committees that the changes were for, and I had to call around and get them. So thank you. The thing that we have though at number 1 was Rules Enforcement Committee, Ralph House resignation. That will be a change that we will be having. The Covenant and Bylaw Committee, Corky Cohoon and Jim Adams, discuss and take possible action on Senate Bill 1588 update and administrative changes. And Corky, I'll go ahead with you first, and then Jim can add.
Thank you, Sam. As we talked a little last time, Senate Bill 1588 has got 27 sections. And basically, it's just a paragraph in a law. Now, in order to make sense of that, you have to print the entire law. The law may be 25 pages long to find out what this paragraph that they changed means. So I have laws that are probably an inch thick. I found some that we failed to follow over the years, and so we're making changes not only in the covenants, the bylaws, the rules, and the architectural committee. You've heard some of the recommendations by the state, or some of the laws about the architectural control committee not having a board member as a member. And we heard from our attorney today that the rule on the architectural control committee be changed to the architectural usage committee, as is the name of what it uses in the law. And you can imagine how many places, how many documents we use the ACC. And now have to change that to the architectural usage committee. I thought I would have a PowerPoint today to show you the covenants and the bylaws that we completed in our last meeting. But we had a meeting with our attorney today, and he made several minor recommendations. Most of the recommendations that he made were our bylaws were too tight, and the laws gave us more latitude than we gave ourselves. And so I will go back and loosen those up according to what our attorney has asked. So I don't have the covenants and the bylaws today. Now, also, as soon as we get the rules completed and the Architectural Usage Committee, that document completed, we will send those to the attorney for review as well. In addition to that, we have 4 policy agreements, everything dealing with Freedom of Information Act to delinquency policies, and some other things. And most of those were written by Les Sweet back in 2011. And we're finding by going through the laws every other year as the legislature has met, a few of those have been changed. They've been changed just a minor word or two, but we're going to update those as well. So we'll have a total of 8 documents. Now, I believe we've briefed everyone involved. We are in compliance in terms of practice with the laws of the state. However, we're dragging behind as far as updating the 8 documents. So we're in compliance, but we don't have them registered with the state yet. And hopefully within the next month or 2 months, we will have all 8 documents updated. We've lost our primary typist, Jamie, and so we're a little slow in getting some of those things typed up and reviewed. And then Jim has some comments on the Architectural Usage Committee.
Okay. I previously, or today, sent an email of the changes that the Architectural Control Committee was recommending related to Senate Bill 1588. And one of those was a covenant change, one of those is a bylaw change, but as Corky just said, we still need to, we're gonna run those through all together. And then the other one was related, the only other Senate Bill 1588 change that affected anything architectural control was the swimming pools. And I provided you that page, again, an email, and it was color coded then. And I'm just noticing the color coding I told you is not correct, but I think we just saw that the whole architectural control, this is part of the handbook, and it's going to be reviewed by legal, and there's a lot of other changes in the architectural control handbook. I think we ought to just put it all together and approve it all at the same time instead of dealing with it right now. But if anybody ever has any questions on swimming pools or anything else in architectural control, we defer it back to that committee.
Okay, thank you, Corky and Jim. Yeah, this is Senate Bill 1588 is really put a lot of work on a lot of people to try to get it up to date. All of our rules, bylaws, covenants, and the ACC manual. So we have different ones that are working on it, got committees and been meeting a lot to try to get it done. And so anyway, we are working on it. Next item is item C, 8C, discuss and take possible action on establishing the main interest development committee with Rick Walker as chair. With the vote that we have going on with the rezone, and just to kind of, I guess you could say, prepare, or I guess you plan ahead, I guess is the word I'd like to use. rather than waiting until December 9th to establish a committee and to have planning take place, and after checking with legal, it's not a problem in that respect, as long as we are planning and not actually, I guess you'd say, committing and have money set aside or spending money on any particular thing, to have a committee that actually will be planning on what to do with the main entrance, in this case, the log cabin and the guardhouse. So with that in mind, I would like to establish this committee. And the committee, I gave all the board members copies of the charter that the committee will be using. There'll be a main entrance development committee to establish by the president, and the committee members approved by the board of directors. The mission of the committee is to provide strategic planning and development of facilities that may be needed by the Lake Kiowa Property Owner Association for administrative and security operations at the main entrance to Lake Kiowa. The membership shall consist of a chair as designated by the president and approved by the board of directors. The community manager are his designee, security chief, and one member each from the Safety and Security Committee, Facilities Committee, Long Range Planning Committee, and Architectural Control Committee. Additional members may be added as requested by the chair and approved by the board. I would like to submit to the board as a motion to approve the main entrance development committee for Lake Kiowa Property Owner Association, with the chair being Rick Walker. I have presented this as a motion. Do I have a second? Jim Adams, second. Any discussion? Anybody have any questions on what I'm proposing? If not, all in favor, if you would, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Rick could not be here today. He's was unavailable, and he will be meeting with the different members that will be on the committee. And at the next meeting, I'm sure we'll have a list of the people that he will have on the committee and bring them forth for the board of directors to approve. Next item, item D, investment committee update. Clark Enright.
We're good right now. Tomorrow afternoon, we have a conference call. I gave y'all an update last week. In the meetings.
Right.
We have a conference call. That conference call with main management is tomorrow afternoon. And so other than that, I really don't have much. We're going to have that discussion tomorrow afternoon, 4:30.
Yeah, in open session, if you could just articulate a little bit more from what we said on Thursday, because it was so well received by the board in terms of directionally where the committee is recommending, and some of the substance of the conversation that you and I and two others will be having with main management, having to do one with their contract and then the whole laddered CD scenario. That would be helpful
Sure.
to have recorded. Thank you.
Y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
What happened to this one? Thanks for that, Brian. I brought all those notes with me. No, we reviewed their contract, and their contract obviously is very slanted to their direction. And so we have several issues we need to discuss with them with respect to that contract. Two big items is an arbitration clause, which I don't really care for. Arbitration is a procedure that occurs with an arbiter. It is binding, and there is no appellate from an arbitration. It is binding, completely binding. What I do like is mediation, and mediation is with a mediator, and it typically precedes any litigation that may occur. And it is not binding. And therefore, litigation may continue after a mediation, but cannot continue after an arbitration. Okay? We have a problem with that. We also have a problem with the law that they've chosen. Main management's headquarters is in California. We wanted to say Texas. Needless to say, we wanted to say Texas. And there are a couple other minor things we've got to talk about. The big deal here is, and you hire a money manager and they do have discretion with your funds, okay? But what happens is that the money manager will have a meeting with y'all, the board, and y'all will build the risk profile from that. And they will make those investments inside that risk profile that you give them. And that's the way that works, okay? Because main management is an active manager of funds. In other words, they are watching our money every day, and they are very active, actively managing that account. And they will move in and out of a lot of things fairly quickly. And everything will comply. Even if some investment that they're in all of a sudden doesn't fit our risk profile, they have to change it. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. Also, Brian wants me to discuss a CD ladder. We really, not so much a ladder as it is a deck. We were looking at brokered CDs and the risk profile on those brokered CDs and how to classify those. And there is a rating system out there for that. And we have all looked at that rating system. And we've looked at the brokered CDs that are being offered, and making sure that the banks that would be issuing those CDs are within that rating that we prefer. We're going to make a recommendation on that. When I say a deck, what we will likely recommend, and we're going to still discuss it, whatever amount we want to put in CDs is that we recommend that we do, all of them will be 250, no more than 250 with one bank, so you got the insurance, right? So whatever money we're going to put in to the CD program, 25% at 6 months, 25% at 12 months, 25% at 18, and 25% at 2 years, 24 months. So every 6 months, whatever matures, that first 6 month CD, you flip up to a 2-year CD, and they're rolling through. Every 6 months, you have an opportunity to either need liquidity or get a bigger rate on a 2-year. Now, if the yield curve starts to invert, then we have to rethink our position on that. Okay. But the better deal is to go get those 2-year rates as often as you can for now. That's kind of what we're thinking.
So you didn't need your notes. I knew you would do that just fine. We've had enough of those conversations, but thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because I've had several board members approach me after that meeting with a sense of, oh, now I kind of get it. Thank you. I appreciate that. And a couple of them had the same sort of concerns that our attorney had when he looked at the statement. And a couple of the board members like, wait a minute, this isn't quite hunt yet for us. So
Yeah, James, and I'll tell you, I think James came up with what, 17
yes,
items?
yes.
I'm with him on about 5. Okay, I'm not with him on the other 12. All right, I'm not sure. He's not really conservative. Okay, and I don't think what he read is actually what is meant in those. But we're gonna be discussing all 17 with main management tomorrow.
And just a note for the audience, the current practice is that we roll over our current CDs every 28 days.
Okay, thank you, Clark. Go to the next item, Long Range Planning Committee, Nancy Jackson.
Thank you. Before I start, I'd like to say thank you very much to the Long Range Planning Committee. Your committee has worked really, really hard over the past year, putting together a survey, then taking all the survey results from all the members, over 1,000 something comments, and digging in and coming up and distilling it down, so you only have to read 37 pages of our long-range plan. And so anyway, I just want to say thank you for all their hard work, for everything you did. Before you, you do have a 37-page document. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you. But it is our pleasure as a long-range planning committee to bring it forward to you. In there, you'll see our methodology, you'll see our background, you'll see committee input, you'll see feedback from the members. You'll also see our executive summary and our results. And so the big things, if you will see the big chunks of our recommendations going forward, are the fact that we would continue moving forward with the front entrance committee that does pass our election, that we would look at all the different capital projects as we rank them based on member satisfaction scores, if you will, and member needs. And then our priority item is that we would put together a master plan. And so those are the things that you'll find in this long-range plan. Questions? Nobody? Okay. Yep. Corky?
I have a question. I had that committee for 3 years, several years ago, and I've read many of them. This is the best plan that I've seen put together that Lake Kiowa has ever done. And I really want to thank you for putting that together. It took a lot of work, I'm sure.
Well, it's my pleasure to take that, but I will extend it all the way back to the committee. It's their hard work that they've done, and that's the reason it looks good. So lots of hours. Thank you.
I'm sure it is. Reads well.
I too would like to thank you and the committee for, I agree, after reading and going through the report, it was very good, very well written, very to the point, and I think that it's something the board will be using as we go along here.
It is certainly our desire that we use it going forward.
Are you wanting to discuss on the ad hoc committee?
I would, but I'd also like to, I move that the board approve the long-range planning as it has been presented for 2022 to 2027.
Do I have a second? Jim Fox, any discussion on the motion before us?
Yes, sir. May I interject? Since this is so many years out, I want to make sure that the board allows in this approval some flexibility for future boards, not to derail it, but to sensitize to surveys, but don't weight it that heavily, but allow circumstances of, be it the economy, be it as things change, taste and demands are there, because if we do a milestone document today on September 20th, 2021, and in 25, pickleball takes over the world and we cover the golf course with pickleball courts. I know I'm being facetious, but it shouldn't be the 10 commandments. It should be a guideline. I just want to make sure that this is put in as consideration. Thank you.
I think, and you'll be happy to know that on page number 6, it does say that. It does say that the board of directors would look at it on a quarterly basis, as well as the long-range planning committee, and take that to heart. So I think that's points well taken.
Yeah, this is a recommendation coming forward with the report.
Correct. That's what I was going to say. The bylaws call this a recommendation. So it's not a hard plan where we have to follow it.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item.
Yes, sir. As I mentioned, one of our big items on the long-range planning committee was to form or create a master plan for the community. And so a lot of discussion on our committee about how we make that happen, because that's been on a lot of long-range plans. And so it's our recommendation as a committee that we create an ad hoc committee that oversees that master plan. A lot of discussion, maybe that is just the long-range planning committee to do that, or it's an ad hoc committee very similar to what we just created for the front entrance committee, where it's made up of chairs or representatives of the different committees that that would impact that master plan, Parks and Recreation, land use, committees such as that. And so I'm not sure how you'd like me to go forward. We can take it back if you would like to as a committee and create a charter, just as you've done here. Or I can certainly put a motion on the floor that we set up that committee.
Anybody have any comments, Jim?
Well, you mentioned maybe just take it back and have the long range planning committee do it. It seems like that might be an appropriate place to have that committee. You just lead that going forward instead of creating another committee.
We can.
I know, I understand. And so I would recommend that because you did a good job here.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with what you're recommending there. One of the things is that the fact that I believe long range planning committee would have to change in the bylaws, add that to that as far as being able to add to that the master plan, since it's not in as to what they're supposed to be doing.
There's probably a lot of things the long range planning committee does that aren't specifically in the bylaws, but it's related to long range planning. I would say it's having building a master plan is the long range. It's just a more detailed land based and as Jim Fox says, comprehensive plan that brings in other things besides the land based planning.
Would it be a case of where the long range planning committee would pull in something from the other committees to get input as far as the master plan?
There's no doubt we would have to have them in there.
So once you take,
So we can take it back.
Yeah.
If you'd like us to do that, and then we'll be bringing name changes on our committee to you shortly.
okay, why don't we do that?
People.
All
Okay.
right. Anybody else have any comments? Comments? Jim Fox, you don't have a comment? Okay. All right. All right. Next item, Parks and Recreation Committee update, Jim Fox.
Well, like Nancy, I'd like to extend a thanks to the Parks and Recreation Committee. We try to meet monthly, it doesn't always happen, but they have been putting in quite a bit of time. We did meet on August 23rd, and in your packet, there's a meeting summary in there. And I did highlight in some bold print there a few things that I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention. A number of meetings ago, we had a question that was mailed in about the golf cart bridges and the impact on boating underneath them and their structural integrity and safety, I guess. And I don't know that we ever got back with that. I think I may have made mention of it in another meeting, but I did want to bring that up, that what the committee recommends at this point is that in the long range plan, since we're talking about that, and I believe when I read through that, Nancy, there was some discussion about bridge integrity and planning for that. So it's already incorporated into the long range plan, but that really was the answer to the question was, these bridges are over 200 feet long in all three of them. Be very expensive to build new bridges on that. The engineering inspection of that is not going to be cheap because you actually have to explore piers and water and stuff like that. It could be very expensive. So the intent at this point, we don't know of any problems really at this point, is to go ahead and include that into the funding schedule at some point where we could do some inspection. And also the bridge that's below the dam too. I mean, any of those types of bridges haven't been inspected. So that was a recommendation coming out of the committee for that. There is a little bit of erosion on the golf cart bridge nearest the number 4 restroom. It's being undermined a little bit there. So there is some, probably one of the things on Tim's new list here to take a look at and maybe get with Brian Brown. I think he knows where that's at also under there, but it's probably not an imminent problem, but could create some problems under there. It's definitely been undermined. Another item that came up, and of course, the Parks and Recreation Committee has many projects that we've been talking about for quite a while, and we still really haven't prioritized a whole lot of them. One thing that came up was, and we have had a dog park surveys, and throughout the years, it's been talked about doing a dog park. There is expense, there's operational issues with trying to actually have a dog park. And I think it'd be great if we could, but maybe as an experiment, the committee thought we could try doing an off-leash area. Just it's a designated area. We post a sign that dogs could be off-leash in this area. That's not uncommon in parks and recreation systems to have an off-leash area like that. The good news is if it doesn't work out, you simply take the sign down and it's no longer a designated area. The committee did know, and I did talk to Melanie this morning, that obviously the security staff would have to be aware of that and make some recommendations on that. And then from a rules standpoint, I was looking at the rules. We call for pets to be unleashed. So if you're going to designate an area, some rules would also have to be changed. You have to insert some language saying we have the option to designate an area where pets could be off leash. So that would be the recommendation, again, coming out of the committee, is to pursue looking at that a little bit further. If the rules committee or security doesn't feel like that's a good idea, then we can come back and just say that that's. I don't know that I need a motion on any of that. I just think that, again, knowing that, maybe we could pursue looking at that. One of the areas too for the off-leash area, and again, there's many areas that you might be able to do this, but the committee did kind of look at that area. It's up by old low water crossing number 3, the new bridge. There's an area north of the road up there that I think I've seen some off-leash activity already up there. The other thing is that some people have dogs that like to get in the water, so there may be an opportunity there with that little south side of the road to get into the lake over there too. So that was just one suggestion on a possible area where we could do that. Try to accommodate the dog owners who are looking for that dog park also. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Yeah, might be a case of where the committee look at it a little bit more, come back with a recommendation, and work with the rules committee on it, security, and maybe even the property owners, talk to them around there to see how that would go with them too. All right, next item, golf committee, Randy Romines and Brian Brown.
Not much to say about the golf committee, except that if you played on the golf course, if you see Brian and his crew, you need to go give them a pat on the back, because our golf course right now is as good as any golf course in North Texas. From tee to green, the fairway, there's not a weed, the greens are rolling perfectly, the tee boxes are, he's done all the damage control from the spring. We got our storms taken care of, and those guys do not get enough credit. I mean, because I go around, I'm fortunate enough to see a lot of golf courses over the course of what I do. And this was the best. It's better than Windstar or anybody else or High Dollar one. So I just need to give him a pat on the back and see that those guys are mowing and doing the stuff, and thank them for what we get to play on. That's all we got for the golf committee.
Yeah, you might mention the email was Gerald Smith. We have some friends out here. I forget the name of the courses that they work at in the Dallas area where they play. They said this course out here was in a whole lot better shape than some of the courses that they play in, which are the more, I should say, expensive golf courses around. So yeah, Brian, yeah, he needs a little pat on the back. So next item, Lodge and Tavern Committee, Jim Adams.
The first item listed here is to discuss and take possible action on lodge used by members, sponsor groups or individuals that there's profit involved in their meeting or event. And what I'd like to say to that is that the Lodge and Tavern Committee has been working on the facilities use and reservations document over the last month. There were a few changes that we needed to make to that document. And as we were going through there, that this topic was one that we were already addressing. And so with that, I'd say it's in committee hands right now. If you guys want to share opinions and stuff, that's fine. Share it with me, and then I can take it back to the committee and incorporate that. I will say, well, that's all I have to say on that. Is yeah, but if we want to talk about it further, I'm happy to do that too.
Anyone have any discussion with Jim on this particular item?
I will add one more thing. I mean, as you look through this, and this, the committee's been working on, there's a lot of nuances in trying to meet what we think the goal of the board has been versus what's good for the community and good for the members and good for the organization. So we're trying to factor all that in. So there are nuances. We recognize that. And there's two additional items under Lodge and Tavern. I believe in July, the Lake Kiowa Dance Group came before the board for approval as a recognized official organization. And I say a recognized official organization by the board, it really falls under that facilities use reservation policy. And being recognized gives those organizations a few advantages, and such as booking events 2 years in advance and booking reoccurring reservations. And we may come back with some additional recommendations as part of those other changes we're doing. But those groups are all public organizations, and they serve the entire membership. So it's a good thing to give them those benefits. So the first one came before the board in July, and the first one we're talking about tonight. And they submitted a set of bylaws that they had just copied off the internet or something, I think, and those bylaws had some questions and concerns in them. So the action got tabled. So the committee has resubmitted just a document stating their leadership and their purpose, and that's all that the policy asks for. It says bylaws are recommended, but they're not required. So they've submitted that document, and it was in your packet. And then while I'm talking about, then the other group that has done the same thing is the Lake Kiowa line dancing group. And they meet regularly on Monday mornings, and so reoccurring, reserve the lodge or the pavilion. So, and they too have submitted a document stating their purpose, who their leaders are. And I would put the Lodge and Tavern Committee has reviewed both and completely or unanimously recommended to the board that we accept those organizations as official groups within the policy. And I make such motion for the Lake Kiowa Dance Group and the Lake Kiowa Line Dance Group.
You have a second? John, second. Any discussion? Corey?
Jim, is there a list of such groups?
Yeah, yes, they're attached in the facilities, the policy that we accepted. And I believe Scott has posted that online, our policy on the Lodge and Tavern reservation, facilities reservation policy. So that group, those lists of groups are attached to that document, or part of that document, and the process to be approved as part of that document.
Okay, thank you.
And I can send you a copy after the meeting.
If it's out of the group, I have a hard time using this new website. I finally got accustomed to the old one.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
I
Okay,
have,
we have a, if you hold on just a moment, we have a motion and a second. And any discussion more by the board? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Barbara Cole, 1836. Has anyone contacted the Lake Kiowa Chapel Choir who meets in the lodge on Mondays? I think they're gonna change it to Tuesday evenings, but they would be included in this, like the group of the line dancers, I would think.
I believe Lake Kiowa Chapel was approved as one of the original groups. And so the choir would fall under that, I would think. I mean, my assumption, unless they want to be treated differently. So I think they're on that list as the original. We named, the board at the time the policy was passed, named about 15 organizations that were already in process or doing things with the lodge and tavern. So I think they are. I'll check it though.
Okay, item number 9, community manager. Brian Matt.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. Staffing update, it's kind of a twofold thing here. One, we are aggressively looking for a replacement for Jamie as our administrative assistant and what I call, vice president of first impressions at the POA office. And she did a great job, and certainly appreciate her. And thank you, Crystal, for arranging flowers for her last day and some nice things to give her a fond farewell. So with that said, just to let the board and the community know, we have 5 Zoom interviews tomorrow and Wednesday for candidates. We've had a good applicant flow there and anticipate being able to land with some top candidate in the coming weeks. That one's moving along very well. The other one is part of my introduction to Public Works Director, and he's joined us today. His name is Tim Belcher. I'm gonna ask you to stand up so everyone can see. Who is this? He's the bald-headed new guy. And he's passed him a microphone because he's got to give a little, couple second, intro who he is and what sort of thing. And everyone, please be nice. First days are awkward, and today is his first day. And I think he found where the restrooms were, but I'm not too sure much more than that at this point. So go ahead, Tim. Thank you.
Hi, yeah, my name is Tim Belcher. First of all, I just want to let everyone know I'm really pleased to be here. I look forward to speaking with all of you in the future and, helping you guys accomplish the goals that you have for your community. I'm just give you a little kind of brief, synopsis about me. I'm from Denton originally. I was born and raised there. I went to the University of North Texas, and just kind of a little brief sort of business background. I spent the last 17 years of my career working for Nucor Steel. Done a variety of different jobs for them, ranging from sales and inside sales and customer service, project management. I've managed purchasing departments and did a little bit of operations management for a few years as well. So I look forward to working with you folks, and hopefully I'll be here for a long time to come.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. The next item that I would like to report to the board is one that is a little bit unsavory, as I would describe it. Each of you have been handed out, is that correct, Crystal? This? You did not. Can you pass it around? Okay. So let's go ahead and get that passed.
Oh, I didn't.
You did. Okay. All right. Well, we'll send this document to you. Now, let me walk you through it. This is the issue about Medicare reimbursement. Okay. So when certain staff members reach a certain age, their ability to go on Medicare versus being on our health care is an option. And what the POA has been doing as a practice has been reimbursing them for the difference. And that makes us incompliant and has for a number of years with our carrier for our healthcare insurance. So this isn't a government thing, it's a healthcare industry-wide practice that changed approximately 3.5, 4 years ago. So if you reimburse them, you're out of compliance and you have the potential of losing capability of even having widespread health care for your community because you're not congruent with that. Number two, if you approach the situation where, okay, we're not going to do this any longer, but we're going to up your hourly rate from 15 to 22 to help offset it. That's coercion and moving around it. And we're already on the audit list, as the 4 executives that of the committee know of what's going on with our healthcare insurance. So it'd be something I would recommend we don't even get close to, and I'm not going to say in public. But to give you an idea, we have 1, 2, 3 people that will be impacted in security, 1, 2, 3 people impacted in public works, and 1 at the lodge. To give you an idea, on a monthly basis, the current association pays out $2,609 a month to reimburse them. The annual impact is $31,300. And this will impact staff members ranging from as low as $665 to as much as just under $800. So this will not be a pleasant scenario, but also by mandate, we must allow them to go on our current medical plan. Certainly some of them will, some of them may not. I can't tell you across the board. We do have a couple people in some departments that have extended spouses. None of them have children because typically at that age, you don't have children living there, but a spouse. Well, our spouse plan currently is quite expensive. So this isn't a recommendation. This is something I need to do. And I will work very closely with our insurance carrier on the delivery on a one-on-one basis with these seven individuals. Short-term financial impact to the POA is quite small, but as we looked at our budget scenarios last Thursday, 31,000 will show up on the radar, and that would be to a benefit. So I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just saying these are the facts, gentlemen and ladies. And this is the part of the job I don't like, because compliance is not a judgment call. Compliance is a matter of, boy, I'd like to do that, or I think it'd make it better for you. It's not. It's you're either compliant or you're not. And we've had a couple of meetings where it's already been, you're doing what? And when we, started digging down on that question, and they came back to us and asked Crystal for some audited information on our process, they immediately said, tilt. Now, you're not going to get thrown over the rail here, but you need to do something, and it needs to be documented in a board meeting. It needs to be shown that you're no longer continuing that practice. So this is something that's going to happen on the best interest of the POA that will be effective in October. Any other comments, Crystal? And by the way, this was brought to us by our new carrier out of Fort Worth, and Gerald Smith has been very instrumental in working with us with the HR committee and looking at different options for healthcare scenarios. And for those of you who attended that meeting, you heard some pretty rough analysis of where we currently stand with that. So I'd like to give you all sorts of good news, but we need to do this. All right, move on to something else. Now, this is an example of where this new law came into place, where I had to give a notice of 6 days for this meeting. And last Tuesday and Wednesday, I had a pretty decent report ready to go on our docs. That is no longer the case. And the reason I say this is because John and Jim and I met with another bidder or contractor for it Friday morning. And this opened up another chapter in the discovery phase of this project. John, if you care to comment and share with the team where we are with that, because we got some more work to do. Go ahead.
We're actually trying to look at another provider, another person to
formulate the plans for the renovation of the docks outside in front of the pavilion. And we'll weigh that and benefits going with that particular person and that design with the possibility, well, not really the possibility, but the other person who has already indicated to us to a design and a cost. And we're a little bit preliminary at that point right now because we haven't heard from the second vendor yet. But it will give us an opportunity to weigh the ramifications, not only of the design, but the financial wherewithal of each of the providers and the timeline and the other things that we'd be interested in the construction of the docks in a timely manner, in a way that the board will approve. There are some other aspects of this that I don't believe should be spoken of in public before correct for an executive session. But within the bounds of what I just got through saying, we are looking at a second person to give us a bid and a design and a timeline and a method of construction and so forth, just like another provider has already done. And then when we have those two, we will make those decisions based on those criteria I just talked about.
And thank you very much for adding some texture to that. The third individual or organization that we're looking at is not even accepting additional offers for business or contracts or bids until the second quarter of 22.
Jim, you had a question?
I just wanted to kind of say, yeah, we're doing our due diligence. And the other thing is that now we have a public works director too, so he can add to his list some more here on the thing of something that he'll be involved with. So glad he's here.
And that completes my report. Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 10, additional business. Anyone have an additional business to discuss with the board? Number 11, comments from members. We have a good group out here tonight. Clark, go ahead.
The broken one?
Yes, two things from tonight's meeting. We talked in the financial update about the delinquencies and the size of those delinquencies. The last 3 or 4 years with respect to the audit, we've been quite successful at avoiding an allowance for doubtful accounts. And that success is driven by our delinquencies. And in the last 2 or 3 years, our delinquencies has averaged anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000. We need to get that under control before the end of the year. Please. That will have an influence on your audit. Okay? Jim Fox, during the Parks and Recreation Committee, we talked about inspection of the bridges. I believe somewhere that got done in 2018 and 2019. Charlotte contacted Icon. They sent the engineer out. That inspection on all 3 bridges was done prior to them putting that top coat on those 3 bridges. Probably gonna be in a file somewhere, I don't know. But I say I believe that subject did come up. And before we went and put that top coat on there, we needed to know the condition of those bridges and how much weight they could bear. Because if you'll remember, the top coat on those bridges was asphalt at one point. And it took an asphalt machine to put that on there. And we were going to possibly try to do that again, and it was a very heavy machine, and so we had it engineered. You might take a look at that. And if you can't find it, you might give Icon a call. I will. Okay, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Clark. Yes. Give it name and lot number, please.
Janet Wayne, 301. This is a safety question, and I had an experience that made me stop and think about it, about It's in this room. I was in this building, in this room, at a dance the other evening, totally sober. And I was trying to line dance, which I don't do very well. And there are some things in the middle of this floor that you're supposed to plug into, I guess, and they're permanent. And so I don't think they can be moved or removed or whatever. I took a dump on it. I mean, I had boots and I was just trying to do my, and I'm not a good dancer, like I said, but I just fell flat on my bum and it's still kind of sore. But my question has to do with what is the safety procedure here for something like that? Not because I would do it, but if somebody came, okay, let's call California again, where I came from, you know, California, we think this way, so I'm sorry. But I did spend a little time there and I got used to the idea that you might get somebody in here that would think, oh boy, this is an opportunity, or they really do get hurt. Sometimes it's legitimate. And first of all, how do you report an injury like that? Do we have to call security? Nobody did. And the other thing is, how do we handle something like that if somebody said, I want to report an injury that I had, and I want to tell you very seriously that I got hurt and you owe my expenses, you know, something like that. That's my question. How do we handle that? Probably already addressed this in the past, and I apologize because I'm new.
I tell you what, I don't know if Brian has an answer for it at this time, or is something that you would like to check into.
We do have an incident and accident procedure and policy in which once reported, it's determined is it one or the other. If in fact it's an accident, then that moves it upstairs. When I say upstairs, then our insurance carrier is notified, except when certain protocols kick in. If it's an incident, it's a matter of following up, where they given at least initial first aid, maybe a cold compress, some things like that. So they're in place now. If an incident or an accident is not reported, it's really hard to react to it. And I don't want to stand behind that, but I would certainly hope that a representative here in the lodge would have been able to, you know, attend to your needs, and then the backup of that would be security. So those things are available. So where did you actually fall?
Okay. Is that
Right
there right now, or did it take a break? That.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're going to move. So we
No,
need to.
I know,
Yeah.
I understand that. My question has more to do with what is our procedure, because that can really hurt somebody, because I know now. And what is our procedure? Nobody came up to me, and I'm not complaining. I was questioning our policies and how we handle them.
Okay.
And if somebody didn't come up to me as the person that fell and say, are you hurt? Can we do something for you? Can we get an incident report if you need it? I mean, I'm a nurse also, so I think this way. But that was it. I just wanted to know how, if a person how do we know when we come into something like that and we are used to being here, we are permanent residents here, but shouldn't we know that we should get an incident report in a case like that, and we should make sure the person's okay?
Yes.
But we need to educate people to do that.
You need to tell the management that's on duty that was in the right action.
Yeah, so you said the onus is on the person that got hurt.
They don't.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if you're hurt. I fall in here too.
Mhm.
I didn't file an incident report because I wasn't hurt.
Yeah, and I didn't need one either. I just, you know, it just hit me all of a sudden. I don't know the procedure here. And I just wondered if other people do, and if it could be something.
Probably not widespread. You're probably right. It's a matter of awareness. You know, bring it to the attention, as well as, you know, a reminder to the people on duty, either here at this facility or golf course or whatever the case may be, but certainly here with the volume of activity this building sees. So thank you. I appreciate that input.
Anyone else? Anyone? Randy?
Maybe how a lot of working, just two comments, based on what I just heard. I'm pretty sure what Clark mentioned, that there is some engineering studies that were done on the bridges. I definitely remember that, so that should be hard to get. And second, on the docks, if I heard you correct, Brian, y'all been busy with 3 contractors, is that correct?
Yes,
But one of them's got a far out schedule.
yes.
Are the names of the contractors public knowledge, or is that something withheld?
Not at this time, but they will be once it's narrowed down to that. And yes, that will be absolutely, it's not going to be any sort of behind the curtain sort of shenanigans. It will be fully disclosed.
Anyone else? Any other members? Other question? Okay. Do we, since Mr. Tidwell is here, not here, do we continue to go into, do we need to go into executive session? I think, do we have something to discuss? No. No. That being the case, I would say that that we would, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Jerry C. adjourn. Second, John Roach. All in favor of adjournment? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming.